The Galactic Council had one unbreakable rule: never hunt the Krythax. The apex predator of the Andromeda sector wasn't just dangerous, it was considered sacred by every sentient species that had encountered it and lived to tell the tale. With armored scales that could deflect plasma fire, retractable claws capable of tearing through starship hulls, and a metabolism that could digest nearly any organic matter, the Krythax sat firmly at the top of the food chain. That's why the entire council chamber fell silent when Jake Morrison walked in carrying a dead one over his shoulder. "Sorry I'm late," the human said, dropping the massive carcass onto the pristine council floor with a wet thud. Traffic was murder out near the Omega Belt. Ambassador Zwaxthor of the Quilarian Empire recoiled, his three eyes widening in horror. "Human Morrison, what have you done?" "That is a Krythax. A sacred pain in my ass," Jake interrupted, wiping blue blood off his jacket. "This thing ate my co-pilot and tried to breach my cargo hold. What was I supposed to do, give it a stern talking to?" The council erupted into chaos. Representatives from 12 different species began shouting in various frequencies, some audible to human ears, others not. The Quilarians demanded immediate arrest. The insectoid Vryn clicked their mandibles in what Jake had learned was their version of panic. Even the usually stoic Titanium Collective's representative showed signs of distress, their crystalline form pulsing erratically. High Chancellor Moreth, a towering being composed of shifting energy fields, raised multiple appendages for silence. "Human Morrison, you have committed an act of unprecedented violence. The Krythax has been the galaxy's most feared predator for millennia. No species has successfully hunted one N." "Actually," Jake said, pulling out his datapad, "according to your own records, 17 species have tried. They all failed because they treated it like some kind of mystical monster instead of what it really is, meat." The word hung in the air like a curse. Most species in the galaxy had evolved past carnivorous diets millions of years ago. The concept of consuming another creature's flesh was considered barbaric at best, incomprehensible at worst. "You cannot mean..." Zwaxthor's voice trembled. "You're not suggesting you intend to eat it?" Jake grinned. "Not just eat it, Ambassador. I'm going to cook the damn thing. And you're all invited to dinner." The council chamber descended into pandemonium once more. But High Chancellor Moreth, being one of the few species that had studied humans extensively since their admission to the galactic community, raised a glowing appendage for silence. "I propose we allow Human Morrison to demonstrate. Perhaps we have much to learn about humanity's approach to challenges." 6 hours later, the council's observation deck had been converted into something the galaxy had never seen, a human barbecue. Jake had hauled in his portable cooking rig from his ship, a battered but well-loved setup that had seen him through 20 years of space hauling. The Krythax, properly butchered, a process that made several ambassadors physically ill, hung over a massive grill cobbled together from spare ship parts. Jake had rubbed the meat with a mixture of earth spices, salt, pepper, garlic, and something he called my secret blend, and now the smell wafting through the environmental processors was causing unprecedented reactions. "It smells." Ambassador Zwaxthor approached cautiously, his nasal slits flaring. "Not unpleasant." "That's the Maillard reaction, Ambassador," Jake explained, flipping a massive steak with practiced ease. "When proteins and sugars break down under heat. It's chemistry, not magic." The Vryn representative clicked closer. "But how did you kill it?" "Our warriors lost 3 battalions trying to eliminate a single Krythax from our colony world." Jake shrugged, turning the meat. "I used what you folks call primitive weapons. See, you all went in with plasma weapons and energy shields. But a Krythax's scales are evolved to dissipate energy attacks, that's how they survive in radioactive environments. But they never developed defenses against good old-fashioned kinetic force." He patted a worn shotgun hanging from his belt. 12-gauge buckshot. Simple, effective, and cheap. Cheap. The Crystalline Collective representative pulsed with what Jake had learned was curiosity. You value efficiency over sophistication. I value staying alive and not going broke doing it, Jake replied. You know what your problem is? You've all gotten so advanced that you've forgotten how to be practical. You see a monster, you see mystery and danger. I see a problem that needs solving and potential dinner. The meat was ready. Jake carved thick slices, the knife gliding through flesh that had once shrugged off military-grade weapons. He plated several portions, adding sides he'd grown in his ship's hydroponics bay, roasted vegetables that every species present could safely consume. Who's brave enough to try? Jake asked, holding up a plate. High Chancellor Morath floated forward. Their energy form couldn't consume physical matter, but they possessed sensory equipment that could analyze the food molecularly. After a moment of scanning, they pulsed with what Jake had learned to recognize as surprise. The nutritional density is extraordinary. The protein chains are perfectly broken down, easily digestible even by species with vastly different metabolic systems. And the thermal processing has neutralized the Krythax's natural toxins. Emboldened, Ambassador Zewexthor took a small piece. His species could technically eat meat, though they hadn't for generations. He placed it in his primary mouth and chewed cautiously. His 3 eyes widened. By the ancient stars, he whispered. It's delicious. One by one, the ambassadors tried the food. Even the strictly herbivorous species sampled the vegetables, prepared with rendered Krythax fat that added a richness they'd never experienced. The observation deck filled with the sounds of satisfied eating and astonished conversation. Human Morrison, High Chancellor Morath said, you have done something remarkable today. You have not only defeated the galaxy's apex predator, but you have transformed it from a symbol of fear into a source of sustenance. How? Jake leaned against his grill, watching the most powerful beings in the galaxy enjoy a meal he'd made. Because humans learned a long time ago that the best way to stop fearing something is to understand it. And sometimes, the best way to understand something is to eat it. We've been turning predators into dinner for millennia. It's kind of our thing. The Vryn representative clicked thoughtfully. Your species has only been spacefaring for 300 years. We thought you were primitives playing with technology you barely understood. Maybe, Jake admitted. But we understand survival. We understand that there's no problem so big you can't break it down into manageable pieces, sometimes literally. He gestured to the now empty plates. You all evolved past the need to hunt. We never did. And maybe, just maybe, that's not a weakness. Ambassador Zewexthor stood, his posture shifting to what Jake recognized as respect among Quilarians. Human Morrison, the Council owes you an apology. We have underestimated your species. Not just my species, Ambassador. You've underestimated the value of staying connected to where you came from. You've got all this advanced tech, all this knowledge, but you forgot the basics. Sometimes the old ways work best. High Chancellor Morath pulsed with what Jake had learned was their version of laughter. Perhaps the galaxy has much to learn from humanity after all. Tell me, Human Morrison, how much would you charge to deal with the Krythax infestation on Vryn Colony 7? Jake grinned, already calculating fuel costs and ammunition expenses. Well, Chancellor, let's talk business. But first, who wants seconds? As the Galactic Council's most powerful beings lined up for another serving of what had been the galaxy's most feared predator, Jake Morrison smiled. Humanity had just proven something important. They didn't fear the darkness of space or the monsters lurking in it. They barbecued them.